I forgot. You're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Damn. Ever felt unsafe playing this game due to some particular characters that may remind you of a certain Yo-Star game? Well, worry not, because our brand new unit, Springseek Coronis, who we'll just be calling as Coronis, is a versatile Terra tracker that is not only a mommy, but she brings a lot to the table for the Terra team. So let's see what she can do in this video right here. So for a base attack, she shoots some chemicals. That's pretty much it. But for the main skill, she will shoot a cone-shaped skill that allows her to enter into a crystallized state, which boosts her movement speed and triggers the Terra mark. Now this will pair well with the main build too, especially when fighting against the current boss blitz, where this bird runs around like no tomorrow. Another thing is that if you're going to be playing as an on-field as Coronis, you'll be forfeiting Jerry from the support role, as they will try to steal each other's Terra mark, which is not going to be ideal. In fact, the better way to potentially play Coronis is actually going to be your instant blossom support skill. So as Coronis will throw a bunch of chemicals on the floor, which will depending on the potential path you've chosen and inflicting Terra mark. Roseval will deal taking damage, and Withervel will deal taking damage, stacking up to 5 and inflicting an increased damage. You can think of her literally as Twitch from League of Legends. That's pretty much it. As Coronis doesn't have much buffs nor debuffs, but can inflict a godly amount of Terra marks for the team, which can potentially replace Tilia. And then lastly, for the ultimate, as Coronis will toss up a chemical nuke on your enemies, as it does a significant amount of damage. However, it can't provide any sort of buff and debuff except through the means of getting a potential, which is gonna be optional. So here is gonna be our skill priority right here. Instant Bloom, followed by your ultimate, followed by Jade of Vitality, followed by your Evergreen Needles. Currently, as Coronis provides more of a sub-DPS off-field than being an on-field unit, well, at the end of the day, yep, you should save your cartridge rather than trying to make it work. That is unless someone can cook up a good on-field build, but for now, you should only level up these two or even ignore her ultimate, because it really just doesn't do that much damage. Her only purpose is to provide the Terra mark and act as a battery for your Terra mark inflictors. So jumping into the build itself, and we are going to be focused mainly on the all-field potential. Now, unless you are aware we have C6 discs, here is a quick record for her on-field on the screen for you right here. Pause if you need to, and moving onwards to the sub-DPS 2 build paths, we'll start with the Rose Vow build. So for the Rose Vow build, this will focus mainly on applying Terra mark constantly, while also applying area of effect damage on the ground. The core potential is going to be your Essence Extraction as well as Vernal Breath. Follow along with its rare potential, Reciprocity, and then your normal potentials, Perfect Touch as well as Symptom Sight. For your Essence Extraction, after casting your support skill, Rose Vow will deal increased damage, and once expired, the last tick will also deal additional AoE Terra skill damage. For your Vernal Breath, for each Terra tracker, your skill damage will significantly increase, followed by a Rose Vow undergoing a Rapid Bloom, which will instantly trigger all remaining damage. And then for Reciprocity, after Rose Vow inflicts Terra mark for 10 seconds, you can trigger every Terra mark on a target, dealing an additional skill damage. And then Perfect Touch is going to be increasing your skill damage for your Rose Vow, and then Symptom Sight will increase the Terra damage taken by the target for 10 seconds. So that's gonna be for your Rose Vow build, and then an alternative build right here is gonna be the Wither Vow build. So this build will focus more on the AoE portion to cover more ground for potentially annoying and mobile bosses. While this will also extend the duration of your vows, it will allow your Wither Vows to continuously stack on and dealing damage without any downtime. So for Return to Earth, your most important aspect is going to be your Return to Earth, because for each Terra trigger, Wither Vows damage will increase. Using your support skill will also throw an additional 7 Vows, 3 Wither and 4 Rose mixed together, and the Wither Vows will convert all those Roses into Wither Vows. So basically everything is going to be Wither. Last thing after this is going to extend the duration of Vows by 50%, so somewhat like a Morgana W under your character for half its duration longer. Then for Waiting Year, when the Wither Vow applies a stack while it's not at its limit, deals additional Terra skill damage while also increasing the additional damage dealt for each new stack. Fated Splendor is gonna be increasing additional damage for each vow, and lastly, Aromatic Bloom is gonna be increasing all Terra trackers' attack percentage. Other than that, the general potentials we'll be going through here are often mixed into the build itself, which will add effective damage or quality of life. Now notice that we did not add a single ultimate potential because we are about to touch on that anyways. So we're going to be getting Terra Chorus, which is going to be every single Rose Vow increasing your Terra damage taken, which will be the bread and butter for your Nazuna Mark team. Herbal Tamarind is going to be increasing your personal attack. Flying Fire is going to be even more attack. Dream Shot is going to be increasing ultimate damage against elite or higher targets. Having this debuff which will deal a huge amount of damage as ultimate damage once the effect ends. Lingering Grace is going to be increasing your damage of your ultimate, and then if it's going to be on cooldown for the ultimate, increase the attack of your Terra Vanguard. And then United Flame is going to be increasing your personal attack for 20 seconds, which stacks up to 6 times. Now, going for the dupes of the talent itself, T1 is gonna be increase your Terra damage taken by 4.7% for 12 seconds, up to 3 times, so a very decent damage buff. Then for T2, it's gonna be when any trigger inflicts Terra mark, increasing your skill damage by 28.5% for 6 seconds. T3 is going to be increasing Terra damage taken by 3.5 seconds for 20 seconds, up to 6 times for a very respectable amount. T4 is going to be increasing your skill damage by 34% for 10 seconds, and then T5 is going to be increasing your personal Terra damage. So overall, I would say that for dupes, because we have our early builds all focusing on marks, T1 will be the best pickup for a supportive role. T2, T3, T4, they increase the personal damage on the Vows if you're planning to increase more damage for S Coronis, whether on-field or off-field. As a free-to-play, if you're looking for more dupes, T1 is more than enough, or better yet, even without dupes, because the role currently heavily focuses on applying marks rather than actually dealing damage. However, if you want to play as an on-fielder, picking up T2 up until T4 is not that bad of an idea, as it will increase your Vow damage itself. As you can see, none of this really buffs ultimate damage, which is going to be focused on the Vow stacking portion, opposed to our on-field build, which wants you to use both skill as well as auto attacks. So T5 is pretty much just build territory, but then again, T3 and T4 are basically the same, unless you get really lucky. And then moving on to your disc, we'll start with S Coronis signature Veil the Dawn of a Spring, which, oh my god, bro, this art is absolutely insane. It will increase your skill damage of support Terra triggers, and when a versatile is going to be dealing skill damage, it will apply this Spring Blossom and increase Terra skill damage taken on a target. This Harmony skill focuses on increasing your squad mate's skill damage when the main Terra trigger deals damage to the target inflicted by Spring Blossom. Her signature disc is going to be a focus on her being an all-field DPS, while also allowing Jerry in a Nazuna Mark team to deal additional damage just from the effects alone. Now the next disc is going to be Jerry's signature disc, the Lost Pilgrim. It will increase your squad's Terra damage by 10% and increase your main trigger's skill and auto attack damage when triggering a Terra mark. Its Harmony skill focuses on increasing your Terra attack percentage when triggering mark up to 5 times and skill damage when the Terra trigger is on the field. And then lastly, our precious little penguin troublemaker who introduced the power of mark damage ever since the release, destroying a ton of pauses, Nazuna.
Shippy!
So for a signature Klaudere, it will increase your Terra damage and target's damage taken for additional Terra damage when triggering a mark. The Harmony skill focuses on increasing the Terra as well as skill damage when your support trigger deals additional skill damage. That is pretty much the signature that you can get from the banners, either losing on the limited or from the standard banner itself. So with that, we can move on to the Battle Pass disc for free to place, aka force to pay players, although not the greatest pickup but still suffice as replacement until you get the other signatures. Other options can also be gotten through the shop with free-to-play means, such as, for example, Colors Pierce the Grey, which is gonna be bought from the Cataclysm Survivor shop, as well as the Sweet Times from Finale Echoing. Now, don't forget that you can in fact buy dupes to increase your base attack that will contribute to your overall damage. So what if you can't get any of these? You completely have no currency, no money, no free-to-play, everything is not possible. Well, there is an alternative free-to-play option if you've been playing since launch or since Shia's banner. You will have 6 of the economy discs, which are not picked up for their effects. That's not for the limited character, but mostly for the base attack, since we can max them up going to 702 for a whopping 1352 at level 80. Now moving on to your emblems, we don't really have too much to focus on, surprisingly, because they are just optional if you want to increase your overall damage. Your main focus will be a level 90 as Terra Chorus and Symptom Sight will significantly increase Jerry's off-field damage while activating Terra marks. Aromatic Room is going to be RNG if it's going to be not on site, since we will apply a huge amount of attack percentage on your team if they are going to be full Terra, which you should be aiming for. So for the emblems, level 70 is going to be shown over here, followed by 80, followed by 90. Now for the TM compositions, there really isn't too much to talk about because we pretty much have just 2 teams, with S Coronis being off-field. Note, your Corvettors are basically naked on emblems, which they will heavily rely on since leveling their skills will not really effectively increase the damage because it's going to be a Terra mark team. So the first team will be on Nazuna on-field with S Coronis and Gary as your off-field DPS. This is what you typically will go for when you're going to be fighting boss splits or final echo. Mark your enemy and you just nuke them. This team was actually used with Terra back then because one of a potential blinding beam inflicts a Lux mark, which will increase your mark damage taken when stacked on top of Nazuna's potential. Touch of Nature will also increase your Terra trigger's mark damage by a spectacular amount, while Jerry is able to stay on field despite being an off-field DPS. This will also trigger Terra mark and deal a ton of damage, which is heavily assisted by your potential Twilight's Verdict, increasing your Terra damage when triggering a Terra mark. Now the problem with this team comp is that if your enemy is really super mobile and they move all over the place, then good luck because Jerry is pretty much just going to be staying on field, hitting air. So it is what it is. Now the second team will consist of Jerry being on field with S Coronis and Nazuna as your off-field supports. Now this is the part where you want to increase your Jerry's auto and skill damage because she will heavily rely on the personal damage output than the support from the team, as S Coronis will be adding as a sub-DPS. This team will underperform in the score compared to Nazla Mark team. However, there's less RNG when playing Jerry on field because you'll be able to chase the target with how agile they're gonna be. So coming to our closing thoughts and summary, overall, as Coronis doesn't have too much room to be shared with others, and it looks to be locked in our current Terra duo, namely Nazla as well as Jerry as their off-field DPS. However, she's a very strong pickup when you want to increase your already existing Terra duo's damage, which will fit both current teams you're going to be running. Now, as Coronis may not be the most versatile tracker despite her role, however, she basically frees up the banana of this game, Terra, which is really good on a lot of different teams that are focusing on the mark build paths, which can typically always run Terra. Now, the direction of the game where we're going to be going for looks to be an active mark applier. Okay, I'm so sorry. Means that we are going to be getting more of each element, where the Vanguard trackers will have more builds than just auto and skill damage on the field. Hopefully not ending up on Jerry being off-field instead. So don't worry about it too much because these are just early builds, and as more time passes, we will be getting more surprising tags from the S Coronis build. So if that will come to the end of today's content, let me know what you guys think in the thoughts and comments below. How has your S Coronis been? All the best for gacha pools. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Also, before I go, I have not said that, by the way. Holy shit. Alright, bye-bye.